we go. I messed that up, but I'm back. Sorry, I'm back, and I didn't get really the time out very good, but I don't want to edit it. You can actually edit it with this old camera. I don't edit anything. I make corrections the next time. I don't redo any takes. They're all live takes. So you hear the rain coming down behind me. It's unbelievable. Our weather we've been having. We just actually, after Dorian, just like last week, we had another 100-kilometer winds. Trees went down again. I mean, we're in the fall line here for hurricanes and winds, like really vicious winds and so forth. I'm back because I want to talk to you a little more. I have my bell here that I'm going to use for my second special editions for the caretaker, Mr. Bob Young, on my CFL Red Zone rule. Coming to you, Mr. Young, Mr. Bob Young. And by the way, I got to get back to him because I think I'd like to take him up in that offer for the Grey Cup in Hamilton, but I probably got to get up there before, because if he was that, you know, incredible to have one of his top management people, you know, send me an email that would really impress my CFL Red Zone rule and with me enough to invite me to as a guest of the caretaker and top management at the caretaker's suite at the Hamilton Tiger Cat game, and wanted me to contact him and arrange it. So my son wants me to do it, so I haven't done it yet, Mr. Caretaker, Mr. Bob Young, but I should really be doing that. I really should be doing that, truthfully, I mean seriously, and it's another way to get my CFL Red Zone rule out there. And if I get Bob Young, Mr. Bob Young, the caretaker of the owner of Hamilton Tiger Cats, sold my CFL Red Zone rule, man, like Steve Armitage told me when I was talking to him about this, he says, man, you're going to be making progress. And he said, that's already making progress if you briefed him on it and did a special edition for him, which I sent to Mr. Armitage, that he thought was pretty good. I mean, yeah, I could have done it better, but I was under the gun for time, and I was trying to cram everything in. I didn't really prep it, and I spoke a little too fast, but you can always play it back. But I played it back not too long ago, and it wasn't actually that bad. I didn't think it was. So anyway, this also is a commemorative Grey Cup glass, beer glass too. I get a Grey Cup. Okay, I think that was in Ottawa, I believe. It says Ottawa on it. Anyway, also schooner beer. I use this symbolic, it's symbolic to the Atlantic Schooners, which I'm going to talk about very soon. A lot about actually. This is symbolic to the Atlantic Schooner, the beer that we make here in Nova Scotia, and symbolic to the Atlantic Schooner potential 10th CFL franchise team in Halifax, which doesn't look very good. And actually, now that I'm there, I'm going to actually talk about it. Now that I'm at that point, it's a good introduction actually. So let's get into it. Okay, they had a meeting yesterday at City Hall, okay, the councillors, and the grandstanding was unbelievable, and the negativity was unbelievable, and they're basically like they're bullies, they're naysayer bullies. It was disgraceful. They were disgusting. I mentioned this to my well, I'll tell you why they were, is because one of their councillors, Austin, Sam Austin, brought in a motion, and yeah, Atlantic Schooners, what they call SSE, Atlantic Schooners, LeBlanc Group, they want this report back. They don't want to wait another 6 months before they get an approval on this, and you can't blame them. They probably want it back. They said the other day by January. I mean, the Mayor Savage reported they're out of town. I can't blame them, but they were late bringing it in late August. That's unbelievable. On a long week, I don't know if it was what a long weekend or September long week, September long weekend, Labor Day, I believe. I couldn't keep track of it because, you know, you just lost interest. And, you know, Touchdown Atlantic, I don't know if I talked about it even last time. I can't remember my last session what I did, but so many empty seats. I mean, they said it was a full house, but 10,000. It might have been 7,000 there. But anyway, let's get back on track with the Halifax franchise, okay? So what happened was that Sam Austin brought a motion in to kill it. Like to kill it now, before even the report comes back. The analysis comes back. Unbelievable. And he had to get 2/3 of the vote, and they lost by 9-8. But, you know, there's a new Sackville councillor, and he went against it his first day. His first day, he got sworn in, and he went to try to kill it. He's almost as bad as Craig, the guy that was there before, seriously. And I got nothing against any districts or people that live in these districts, but come on. These are all naysayers. There's no vision. These people have no vision. They're all about, like my neighbor said when I was talking about, he said it's unbelievable. He said they're all about themselves, and that's true. They are all about themselves. They're not about the people. They're not about us, the property tax owners that have been wanting a CFL team and a real CFL model stadium. We'll get into that in a minute. Built in Halifax for many decades. And the Commonwealth Games was a huge disappointment because we had a $200 million stadium, almost like the Saskatchewan one. It would have been unbelievable. And then at Shannon Park. And Shannon Park, yes, isn't the greatest location. But like my neighbor said, well, I said, they're grandstanding. He said, yeah, that's, and I said, they're bullies. They're so ignorant and rude, and it's unbelievable. Naysayers, they don't know anything about the CFL. They did probably didn't go over the LeBlanc Group Schooner Sports and Entertainment proposal. I bet that in depth, I don't think they probably highlight. They didn't even do their homework. And if they would have been really doing their homework, they would learn something about the CFL and learn something about the economic benefits of having the Grey Cup game in Halifax. But by the way, not with this Mickey Mouse, because that's what Mayor Savage said. He threw a wrench in and went from 190, 170 to 130, 120 to 94. And it's Mickey. It's a half a stadium. They'll never have a Grey Cup game in Halifax with that Mickey Mouse little rinky-dinky little bare bone, like sitting on benches on one side with outhouses, and the other side has permanent washrooms, but it's half a stadium. It'll never be able to stage a Grey Cup game, and the CFL owners and the commissioner, Mr. Ambrosi, which I have a complaint about you about, why are you allowing this to happen? To allow them to build this Mickey Mouse? Are you that desperate? The governors would never approve a CFL a Grey Cup game in Halifax. I don't know how they can even approve a CFL franchise with this Mickey Mouse little rinky-dinky half a stadium. It's an embarrassment. But the councillors are an embarrassment. They're a disgrace. That's Halifax City Councils, not all of them, but way too many of them. They have enough. There's Wayne Mason. He is unbelievable. This guy, he is just so against it. He doesn't know anything about the CFL or a CFL model stadium. Like all these naysayers, like Mason. There's another new guy. There's so many of them. It's unbelievable. Outfit, that idiot. He called a person one time. He called him Rick House Show an idiot. You're the idiot that was for the CFL stadium. You're the idiot, Outfit. You're an idiot, and you don't do anything. You don't even go to work. You lie about what people say. Like, they're unbelievable. These people. There's no vision, and now they got this other guy, Sean Laird. He's unbelievable too. You should hear these, how bad they are. It's unbelievable. It's appalling. They're despicable. They're disgusting. They're an absolute disgrace to our city, and they're a disgrace to our country. And the CFL, which is an institution, the Grey Cup game, 107 years old, and what they're doing, it's unbelievable. Listen, if you do your job and do your homework before you have anything to say. Go out to Regina and sit down with the mayor and their councillors and go through their $280 million stadium and learn something. And learn how, like, what a CFL franchise would do economically for a city, and how huge a Grey Cup would be. In Ottawa, in 2000, it brought in $80 million economic activity. What it would do for our city. It's unbelievable. Yeah, but, and McNeil, you're the blame too, our premier. He wants $80 million for an art gallery, $130 million. For an art gallery that won't bring in any economic activity, nothing. It'll lose all kinds kinds of money and cost taxpayers big, big money. He's so political. And the city, all this money, nothing against people riding bikes, but tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars on bike lanes. There's no one on the bike lanes. There's no one biking. And they will do anything for a stadium or a CFL team. They're an embarrassment. And imagine having a Grey Cup game in Halifax. And yeah, Shannon Park's not the best location. But do your job. Change the location. Then it was probably political because Canada Land, there were Fed lands and being managed by Canada Lands to sell it and so forth. But Trudeau never came to the table. They need infrastructure. They need roads over there. Infrastructure. Excuse me. They need roads. They need transit. They need to spend a lot of money, water, everything. Nothing's there. That's just a dumb location because Trudeau's not paying for all that infrastructure. He's not paying for anything. Nothing. If he wants the city to build a stadium there in the province, he should be paying for all that. Okay, to make it happen. It's their lands. He's not coming to the table. And you got Fisher that's he's another like liberal from here. He's not doing anything. And Fillmore, you're not doing anything about it. Come on, get together, sit down, all of you, with Trudeau, with the mayor of Halifax, Mayor Savage, with Mr. Dubé, the CAO, and the premier, okay, and Fillmore and Fisher, and get this done, right? And do a third deal like the World Trade Center in Halifax. Get it done. Get it done and build a $130 to $140 million stadium that's going to be able to host a Grey Cup game. That will be not a half a stadium, there'll be a full permanent stadium on both sides that have, and by the way, not benches, back seats with cups, okay? Okay, with open concourses, with permanent washrooms and concessions, right? With skyboxes, club seats, lounges, a restaurant, a schooner store, all the amenities that you need that are necessary to be viable and successful as a new CFL owner and for the stadium itself to be successful, okay? And to be able and capable to stage a Grey Cup, proudly stage a Grey Cup game that would be the biggest single event ever staged in our city. And the first ever Grey Cup game in our capital city of Halifax. And our first ever Grey Cup game in Halifax, our fast growing capital city of Halifax and in Atlantic Canada. And by the way, a real CFL model stadium. Okay? Not half a stadium that Nova Scotians could be proud of and proud to sit in. And a CFL model stadium, a real CFL model stadium that we can be proud of to stage a Grey Cup game in Halifax. Are you hearing me, Mayor Savage? Are you hearing me, Premier McNeil? Are you hearing me, Trudeau, Fillmore, and Fisher? Your MLAs that won seats here game? Do something. Are you hearing me? Naysayer, negative, disgusting, like unbelievable, disgraceful, no sayer, no councillor, like I don't even want to give you the councillor name in front of your name. You're naysayer councillors, you're awful. Okay? I could have spelled that up better, but I could write it down. There's a lot of adjectives that I could actually put on that too. But you are brutal and you're an embarrassment to our capital city. Our fast-growing capital city is going to be almost 500,000. What will be in 10 years or less. And you should be aiming right now, doing it right and building it right so it could stage a Grey Cup game in Halifax in the first 3 years. The Atlantic Schooners are officially a 10th CFL franchise in our fast-growing capital city of Halifax. You know, come on, it's growing 10,000 or more people a year, over 11,000. Like, come on, get with the program, you clowns. You know, really, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, like, I gotta say what I'm saying back to you. Fight back, because of what, if you would watch that, everybody, you could see it on the community channel, Halifax, tune in and watch these people, how they ran down the CFL, ran down the LeBlanc group. That's, you know, I can't blame them if they tell them. They should tell them to go pound sand and get out of town and go to Quebec City where they welcome with open arms. And I guarantee you they would build a real CFL model stadium and a CFL model stadium that could host a Grey Cup in Quebec City. Why wouldn't you want that, by the way? Mayor Savage, why wouldn't you want the right CFL model stadium built that could proudly stage and host a Grey Cup? And why wouldn't you want that, Mr. Dubé, CAO of Halifax? And why wouldn't you want that, the Premier of Nova Scotia? And why wouldn't you want that, Trudeau, for the Maritimes? We never ever get anything. So step up at the plate, all of you. Get together and get this done. Okay, and build it right. Do it right and build it right. Okay? So we can be proud to sit in a real CFL model stadium for the opening game of Atlantic Schooners' first game. And proud to sit in for a first ever Grey Cup game in Halifax would be the biggest thing that ever happened to our city. Can you imagine a Grey Cup game in Halifax? Anyway, for some reason this session's going slower. The other one just zoomed. We're up to 15 minutes, but I wanted to get that off my chest because I'm so passionate. And it's like, you know, it's funny, that word passionate, I forgot what Mr. Nielsen said to TSN, and he's going to do, I hope he does well, that's the way I am. But listen, when people start knocking the CFL like the city council and running it down and running this proposal down and not even willing to come to the table, wait for the proposal, or not even willing to wait to see if they can work out a better deal, which they got to, and change the location. Change it to a location that the infrastructure is already there in place. The roads, the transit, a transit terminal, okay? A transit terminal, like everything in place. Like the water, everything's in place. All the services are in place. And there's Dartmouth Crossing in Dartmouth, but there's even, I think, another amazing site is the Halifax Commons. Everything's in place there. There's a new terminal there, bus terminal there. It's even better, I think, because it's inside. There's more hotels in Halifax and so forth. But man, oh man, get your act together and get out there and go to work and do your homework and get this done and do it right and build it right. Okay. I just want to go back to what Mr. Nielsen was saying about passion. How are you going to get passionate fans to watch? They're lacking the 20s and the 30s, that generation. And basically, you know, 40s, 60s, 70s, and that's right with the CFL, and they're dwindling. And so forth. And look at all the empty seats. And that's why you can't have a Canadian starter ratio. And I'm going to go over that in my next session. Or I could just talk about now and go right into my next session, set my setup and go into Mr. You know, for the caretaker, Mr. Bob Young, and do another important, better presentation of my CFL Red Zone for him. But I'll just say this, maybe I'll just do it in this session. The Red Blacks and getting back to what Mr. Nielsen said about, I mean, how are you going to get these demographics? They're all NFL fans. They laugh at the CFL. Well, you got to make changes, and that's why the Red Blacks. Can you imagine getting a new CFL franchise and being Red Blacks so successful as they were, and now look at them, all the empty seats, and look how horrible the team is, and that's because of the Canadian ratio and the one-year contracts. That's the blame on you, Ambrosi. You're in bed with the Canadian Players Association and keeping. And Ramsey, guaranteed Canadian racial alignment, and in bed with the Canadian ratio. That has to change. It's got to change. You can't have a guaranteed Canadian starter ratio. MLS soccer doesn't have it. All the other professional, NHL, you know, NBA, Major League Baseball, and the NFL, that's why they're successful. If you want to be a player, you can't have a so-called professional football, three-down football league when you have the Canadian Players and the Canadian Players Association. Like I said, 3 C's, that's what CFL stands for. Canadian Players Association, and a Canadian ratio football league run by the Canadian Players and Canadian Players Association. And a commissioner that's basically a commissioner for them. In bed with them. Because he didn't do anything about the Canadian starter ratio when the owners wanted it dismissed, gone completely, which they should. They want to be like all the other professional sports that are successful, that are packing their stadiums because they allow the best available players to start and play at every position for an entire CFL game, which the CFL doesn't. And that's why the Ottawa Red Blacks, by the way, Ottawa Red Black fans and CFL fans out there, and younger generation fans that I hope you listen to Spyder's CFL Red Zone my Red Zone Rule YouTube session, because I'm the only one that actually tells it the way it tells the real truth about the Canadian ratio and tells the real truth what's wrong with the CFL. And Montreal MX making a comeback, but they still haven't sold, and they still got like seats all covered over. That, I mean, they only got like 15,000 seats available or less to sell. That they only got 24,000 seats or less, and they have to cover it over. That's how poorly they really are doing. The team's doing well, but the fans aren't there. I mean, it's not completely empty, but it's half empty. And BC Lions, it's brutal. Like, it's brutal. There's less than 10,000 people there, and their team is brutal. And again, it's because of one-year contracts, the Canadian starter ratio, and by the way, the guaranteed Canadian roster ratio. This has to be half Canadian, guaranteed, okay? And they have to have backups for this. This is why these teams are so good and so weak. And you can't have the Eastern Division every year because of this being weak. Because the CFL, how long are they going to go like this without one of the franchises in these going down, or in the West now, going out of business? So how are you ever going to get the 10 teams when you may go to 8 or 7 or fold? And you got the XFL out there now, and they're coming at you. I mean, the Alliance League went down, but the XFL are going to be very aggressive, and they're drafting CFL players. They're coming out, and look at the money. They're paying as much as the CFL for quarterbacks and other position, as much or more, another position. And by the way, the Canadian players, because of the Canadian ratio, that's another problem why CFL teams are so weak. They're the ones getting most of the money. The American players and better players in a lot of cases that aren't sitting on a bench or can't start because of the guaranteed Canadian starter ratio and guaranteed Canadian half a roster ratio that's guaranteed Canadian. And that's why their agents can force the hand of CFL owners to pay them a lot more money than Americans, because even if they're not good enough, with in many cases they're not good enough to start, they're forced to play them, start them and play them because of the guaranteed Canadian starter ratio. That's why it has to go. And by the way, in relation to rules, and getting back to what I was saying about my CFL Red Zone rule, and about what Mr. Nielsen, the TSN new CFL broadcaster, said, I gotta get in contact with him and give him my intro part of my presentation, give him my whole presentation, because I want to tell you something about a character before I leave to a sleazebag character that I said good things about, actually, that's hated by the CFL. Rashid Denny, what he did to me. But anyway, I don't think Mr. Nielsen would do that, because I think he has more class than that. But I answer all his questions, and my CFL Red Zone rule answers all his questions and fixes the problem, and will attract more CFL fans to a CFL Red Zone, to a CFL 3-down game if my CFL Red Zone rule is made part of a CFL 3-down game. Now, I'm at 23 minutes, so I just want to talk about Rashid Denny, what he did to me. I met him this summer on the waterfront, and I briefed him my CFL Red Zone rule. And he was with some people, I think it was during Pride Week, Pride Week that week. I think it was that week. I'm pretty sure it was, festival. And anyway, he was there, and I got talking to him. I told him, and he sent an email back to me. I have the email, and he says, "What's your plan then on my CFL